Chapter 1. The Mysterious Letter. Emily had always been a creature of comfort. Her small-town life was a predictable rhythm of ordinary days, a pleasant dance of familiarity. But on one uneventful Thursday, she received something that was anything but ordinary. A peculiar letter slid under her front door, stirring a whirlwind of events that would transform her life forever. The envelope was light brown and slightly worn, as if it had traveled a great distance, with her name, Emily, beautifully inscribed on the front in inked cursive handwriting. Curiosity piqued, she gently opened it to find a single sheet of paper. It contained a cryptic message. When the clock chimes midnight, stand at the edge of Maple Park under the watchful eyes of the moon. You are the key, Emily. Your journey awaits. She read it again and then a third time, yet the meaning remained cloaked in mystery. Emily wasn't a girl who took risks. She enjoyed her routines and found comfort in the expected. But this letter, with its strange instructions, shook her sense of reality. Was it some kind of joke? Or perhaps a misdelivery? Her thoughts ran wild, clouded with uncertainties and what-ifs. But something deep within her was stirred, a part of her she seldom listened to, the part that craved the unexpected and yearned for the thrill of an adventure. Was she ready for such a departure from her mundane life? As the hands of the clock approached midnight, she wrestled with her doubts and fears. Finally, driven by a mix of curiosity and courage, Emily decided to step into the unknown. Bundling herself against the chilly night air, she left the comfort of her home. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached the edge of Maple Park, the moon casting long shadows on the ground. The park was tranquil, silent but for the rustling leaves and the gentle breeze. She stood there, alone, wondering if she'd made a mistake. She felt a flicker of fear, contemplating if she should return to her warm bed. The minutes ticked by slowly, each second stretching out, adding to her anticipation and unease. Just as Emily was about to give up, the distant town clock began to chime, marking the arrival of midnight. The quiet night was momentarily filled with the resonating tolls, each echoing her increasing heartbeat. As the last chime faded, a gust of wind swept through the park, rustling the leaves louder, and a brilliant light burst forth from nowhere, flooding her surroundings. Her heart pounded in her chest, her breath hitched. Fear and excitement coursed through her, adrenaline pumping. She realized this wasn't a joke or a mistake. This was real. A mysterious journey had indeed begun, and she was at its very heart.
Her hands shook as she clutched the letter.
The cryptic words, once confusing, now seemed a beacon, guiding her towards an unimaginable adventure. Fear and excitement fought for dominance within her. She looked around, her eyes trying to adjust to the brightness. The once familiar park seemed alien now, filled with an ethereal light. She took a moment to breathe in the fresh, crisp air of the night and gather her thoughts. The eerie glow began to concentrate, taking on a form, a doorway of light. Emily stared at it, her heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to run back to her comfortable, predictable life. But a stronger pull, a magnetic allure of the unknown, anchored her to the spot. Steeling herself, she took a step forward, then another, her courage growing with each stride. As she neared the glowing portal, a warm, inviting feeling washed over her, extinguishing her lingering fears. She reached out tentatively, her hand shaking slightly, and touched the edge of the light. It felt warmer than she had expected, not scorching, but pleasant like a summer's day. She glanced back at her sleepy town, nestled comfortably in the embrace of the night, oblivious to her extraordinary moment. Emily knew she was on the brink of something life-altering. Taking one last look at her normal life, she pushed past her remaining doubts and stepped into the portal. A surge of energy rushed through her, overwhelming her senses. The park, the town, everything familiar faded away as she was propelled through a tunnel of pulsating light. Her stomach churned with the strange sensation of moving without moving. She squeezed her eyes shut, the intensity of the experience threatening to consume her. After what felt like an eternity, the sensation gradually subsided, replaced by a calming tranquility. She cautiously opened her eyes to a world unlike anything she'd ever known. The portal had transported her to a place that seemed detached from time, an exotic landscape that defied everything she knew about her world. She clutched the letter tighter, her only link to her old life. As she took in the fantastical sight before her, a rush of awe and apprehension swept over her. Emily had stepped into the unknown, unprepared and unsure, but undeniably intrigued. The realization struck her with renewed vigor. She was no longer in the safety of her small town. She was in an entirely new world, a place she couldn't even begin to comprehend. She was alone, but she felt an odd sense of belonging. The cryptic message in the letter, the strange portal, and this new world, they were all connected to her in a way she didn't yet understand. Feeling a surge of determination, Emily made a promise to herself. She would unravel the mystery of this strange journey, discover the truth behind the cryptic message, and find her way back home. She was indeed the key, and she was ready to unlock the secrets of this new world. As the sun began to rise in the alien sky, casting long, unfamiliar shadows around her, Emily stepped forward, marking the beginning of her extraordinary adventure. She felt a thrill of anticipation run down her spine. The small-town girl was now an explorer in an unknown world, ready to face whatever came her way. Emily's journey had begun. A peculiar letter had led her to an unexpected adventure, setting her on a path she could never have predicted. But she was ready. She was going to embrace the unknown, come what may. The world around her came to life as the alien dawn broke, and Emily, clutching the mysterious letter, walked confidently into the new day. Chapter 2. The Passage of Time. With the dawn's light illuminating her surroundings, Emily began to absorb the details of her new environment. The landscape was dotted with lush, vibrant flora unlike anything she had ever seen, their colors and shapes exotic and strikingly beautiful. The sky was a shade of azure she had only ever seen in her dreams, and the air was fragrant with a tantalizing mix of aromas she couldn't place. It was breathtaking, yet disconcertingly unfamiliar. Venturing deeper into this unknown land, she soon discovered more startling sights. People draped in attire from a bygone era hustled around in harmony with the peculiar environment. Their dialect was distinct yet vaguely recognizable, hinting at English, but with a twist that made it sound antique and intriguing. It was then the realization hit her. She had not just traveled through space but through time as well. A myriad of emotions surged through Emily: fear, excitement, disbelief, all culminated in a stunning revelation. She was in a different era, a living, breathing piece of the past. As thrilling as it was terrifying, the reality of her circumstances started to sink in. She was not just an observer. She was an active participant in this world, her actions capable of shaping the course of history. Emily remembered the movies and books about time travel, all replete with cautionary tales about altering the past. She now found herself in a similar predicament, grappling with the responsibility that her mere presence might induce changes with unforeseeable consequences. The thrilling adventure she had embarked upon was morphing into a complex puzzle of cause and effect. Despite the nervous anticipation, Emily refused to succumb to fear. Instead, she began to familiarize herself with her new environment. The people, initially wary of her unfamiliar clothes and confused expressions, gradually warmed up to her. She learned their dialect, understood their customs, and began to blend in, all the while ensuring her influence was minimal. She studied their primitive yet fascinating technology, their social structures, and even their food, which was strangely appetizing. Each day was a new discovery, an unveiling of an era she had only read about in history books. Her very presence in the past was a direct defiance of the laws of nature as she knew them, yet it felt incredibly real, incredibly alive. In the quiet moments of solitude, Emily often pondered her unique situation. She considered the message in the mysterious letter, the cryptic instructions, and her subsequent journey through time. Each aspect seemed to point to a larger puzzle, a deeper secret waiting to be uncovered. "You are the key, Emily. Your journey awaits." The words echoed in her mind, making her believe that her role in this era was more than just a passive observer. As the days turned into weeks, Emily started feeling more at home in this strange land. The people became her friends, the unfamiliar became familiar, and the once terrifying prospect of time travel became her new reality. Yet she was constantly reminded of the enormous responsibility she held. Every step she took, every word she spoke, could potentially alter the trajectory of history. One day, while assisting her new friends in a communal task, Emily inadvertently introduced a simple lever mechanism, an idea far ahead of their time. The immediate improvement in efficiency was greeted with amazement and appreciation by the locals, and Emily realized she had influenced the timeline, however minutely. The incident served as a stark reminder of her precarious position. She was walking a tightrope, trying to live in this era without drastically influencing its natural progression. But in that moment, Emily also realized the potential for positive change. Could she not use her knowledge and skills to improve the conditions of this era, without causing significant historical discrepancies? Her adventure had become a balancing act, a careful negotiation between adaptation and influence. Emily knew she had to tread lightly, for the passage of time was a delicate thread, and she was the needle stitching her way through the fabric of history. As she lay under the stars one night, pondering her journey and the countless questions it raised, Emily resolved to uncover the truth behind her time travel and the purpose of her presence in this era. She felt a profound connection to this world, its people, and its course of history. She had come a long way from the girl who received a mysterious letter, and she was ready for the challenges ahead. Embracing her role as a time traveler, Emily stepped into each new day with newfound purpose and determination. She was not merely an explorer now, she was a preserver of time, cautiously navigating the thrilling and terrifying realities of her extraordinary journey. Chapter 3: The Unexpected Encounter. Time continued to unfurl in its peculiar way in Emily's adopted era. With each passing day she learned, adapted, and subtly influenced. Yet amidst the gradual settling into her new existence, Emily yearned for a touch of familiarity, a connection to the world she had left behind. And it was in one such ordinary day, during a visit to the bustling local market, that she had an extraordinary encounter. A man dressed in foreign attire, so distinctly out of place among the vintage surroundings, caught Emily's eye. Their gazes met, and she saw a spark of surprise flicker in his eyes, a reaction she often saw in the mirror when she thought of her unbelievable circumstances. Drawn by an invisible force of curiosity and shared otherness, Emily approached him. Introductions were made, and the man revealed his name, Jonathan. His accent was oddly familiar, and his manners had the polished touch of the 21st century. When Emily confided in him about her time travel, he didn't bat an eye. In fact, he confessed to being a time traveler himself. The revelation ignited a bond between Emily and Jonathan, a bond born out of shared experiences and the peculiarity of their situation. Their conversations often stretched into hours, oscillating between their experiences in this strange era and nostalgic reminiscences of their own time. Jonathan's presence offered Emily a sense of comfort she hadn't realized she was missing. He understood her struggles, her concerns about influencing the timeline, and the inexplicable mix of awe and fear that came with their incredible journey. They shared tips and tricks to blend into their adopted era, exchanged notes about the culture, and often laughed about the strangeness of their circumstances. But as Emily grew comfortable with Jonathan's company, she couldn't shake off a budding suspicion. How did Jonathan ended up in this era, and why? His vague explanations about a random journey and his visible discomfort whenever she pressed for details set off warning bells in Emily's mind. And the mysterious letter's words often echoed in her thoughts. "You are the key, Emily. Your journey awaits." Could Jonathan be a part of this cryptic puzzle? Was his presence in this era, at this time, merely a coincidence? Emily wrestled with her doubts, torn between her newfound friendship and the niggling feeling of unease. Despite her reservations, Emily continued to interact with Jonathan. His knowledge about the future, their passionate discussions about the past, and their shared commitment to preserving the timeline enriched Emily's experience in the new world. But she decided to stay vigilant, to watch out for any signs that may reveal more about Jonathan's true purpose in this era. Their relationship teetered on the delicate line between trust and suspicion, an unusual friendship blossoming amidst a sea of unanswered questions. Yet Emily felt an inexplicable connection to Jonathan, a camaraderie born out of shared experiences and mutual understanding. As Emily navigated her way through the strange world with Jonathan by her side, she felt her journey becoming more complex yet intriguing. Every day was a new discovery, every encounter a step closer to unraveling the truth behind their extraordinary circumstances. With her friendship with Jonathan growing stronger, Emily stepped into the unknown with renewed vigor, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. The unexpected encounter had added a new dimension to her journey, a dimension that was rapidly redefining her experience in the past. The peculiar puzzle of Emily's journey was falling into place piece by piece, and as she ventured further, she was ready to embrace whatever the passage of time would reveal. Emily's extraordinary adventure was far from over. It was only getting started. Chapter 4. The Hidden Truths. The days turned into weeks as Emily continued to live her unexpected life in the past. Her bond with Jonathan deepened, yet her suspicion remained, growing stronger with every evasive answer and hurried subject change. One day she decided she could no longer ignore the feeling gnawing at her. Armed with determination, Emily confronted Jonathan, pushing for answers. Caught off guard, he hesitated but ultimately acquiesced. He began a tale that sent Emily reeling, challenging everything she knew about her journey and herself. Jonathan revealed that he was not a random traveler, he was sent to find Emily. The organization he worked for had discovered the possibility of time travel and had stumbled upon a prophecy mentioning Emily's name. She was a key figure in the past, destined to influence the course of history subtly but significantly. As Emily struggled to digest this information, Jonathan dropped another bombshell. Emily was not just from the future. She was also from this era. She was a child of two worlds, her parents having been time travelers themselves. Her life in the 21st century, her seemingly normal upbringing, was carefully orchestrated to prepare her for this journey. The revelations hit Emily like a tidal wave. She was not an accidental traveler, but the central figure in a cosmic play of time and destiny. She felt her understanding of her world crumble, replaced by the startling truths of her past and her journey. Emily was left reeling, her mind buzzing with questions. Why her? What was her purpose? And what was she supposed to do now, knowing that her every action had implications beyond her understanding? The adventure that had begun with a cryptic letter had now become a complex narrative of time, fate, and self-discovery. As she wrestled with her emotions and the magnitude of her situation, Emily found a strange comfort in the chaos. The pieces of her puzzling journey were falling into place. The cryptic letter, the mysterious portal, her intuitive understanding of this era, and now Jonathan, they were all part of a bigger picture, all linked to her, the girl who was born in the weave of time. In the days following the revelations, Emily found herself shifting between awe and disbelief, anger and acceptance. Her conversations with Jonathan became more infrequent, more reflective as she grappled with her newfound reality. Amidst the storm of revelations, Emily had a critical decision to make. Should she continue to live cautiously, preserving the timeline and trying to fulfill her predestined role? Or should she forge her own path, using her knowledge and abilities to create a future she deemed fit? The decision weighed heavily on her. She was not just Emily anymore, she was a conduit of time, a bridge between two eras and the potential shaper of history. The understanding was daunting, yet empowering, and with it came a realization. Emily was more than just a key. She was a locksmith, capable of unlocking the potential of time itself. With the hidden truths unveiled, Emily found herself standing at a crossroads, her next step capable of affecting not just her life but the course of history. She understood now that her journey was far from a random adventure. It was a carefully planned destiny, one she was born to embark upon. But amidst the cosmic design and startling revelations, Emily held on to one belief: she was the master of her destiny. She might be a child of two worlds, the key to a historic prophecy, but she was first and foremost Emily, brave, curious, and ready to carve her own path in the labyrinth of time. In the eye of the storm, Emily stood tall, ready to embrace the revelations and face the challenges that awaited her. The girl who once feared the implications of her journey was now the woman embracing her destiny, armed with the courage to shape history on her own terms. The journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The hidden truths had been unearthed, but the path ahead was still shrouded in mystery, waiting to be explored by Emily, the unexpected traveler of time. Chapter 5. The quest begins. Armed with the revelations about her past and destiny, Emily stood on the precipice of her journey, her heart full of resolve. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she also knew that she held the key to protect the timeline and make her way back to her world. Emily began her quest, with Jonathan as her unexpected ally. Their first task was to identify and prevent potential timeline disruptions. Drawing upon her memories and knowledge of history, Emily identified events and individuals that were critical to the course of this era. They journeyed together across mountains and through valleys, influencing subtly but effectively. Sometimes it meant redirecting a conversation, at other times intervening in disputes. Despite the immense pressure, Emily found herself rising to the occasion. Her resolve hardened with every challenge, her spirit undeterred by the seemingly insurmountable task ahead. But preserving the timeline was only half the battle. Emily yearned to return to her own time. She missed the familiar comforts of her 21st century life and the faces of her loved ones. This yearning fueled her quest, pushing her to find a way back. Jonathan and Emily searched for answers in the ancient texts of this era, exploring old myths, legends, and rituals, looking for clues about time travel. They found hints of a possible portal, a gateway connecting different timelines, but the information was cryptic, incomplete, and scattered across different texts. The search for the portal was an arduous journey in itself. They traveled far and wide, facing hostility from those suspicious of their intentions and battling the harsh elements of nature. Yet, with each challenge, Emily felt a strength rise within her, a determination she never knew she possessed. Every obstacle they faced seemed to strengthen Emily's resolve. The girl who once hesitated to embrace the unknown was now leading a quest through it. Her courage, her resilience, and her will to protect the timeline and return to her own era shone brightly, inspiring even Jonathan. But the quest was far from easy. Emily faced doubts and fears, moments of despair when the enormity of her task threatened to overwhelm her. But she remembered the words of the mysterious letter, "You are the key, Emily. Your journey awaits." And each time she found the strength to continue, to rise above her fears, to persevere in the face of adversity. Her journey took her to the heart of ancient civilizations, into the depth of forgotten caves, and across treacherous terrains. She met people from all walks of life, experienced cultures so different from her own, and witnessed historical events she had only read about. As Emily plunged deeper into her quest, she learned more about her strength and capabilities. She discovered the power of resilience, the courage and perseverance, and the hope that arises even in the most desperate situations. By the end of their quest, Emily had evolved. She was no longer just a traveler navigating a strange world. She was a leader, a protector of time, and a woman of extraordinary courage, ready to face whatever the passage of time brought her way. The quest was far from over, and Emily knew that bigger challenges awaited her. But she was ready. She had begun her journey as a girl lost in time, and now she was a woman wielding the key to the labyrinth of time. Emily was ready for whatever lay ahead. She had accepted her destiny, embraced her strength, and was determined to face any challenge that came her way. With her eyes set on her goals and her heart filled with determination, Emily moved forward, one step at a time, into the uncharted territories of time. Her quest had only just begun. Chapter 6. Facing the Adversary. As Emily's quest advanced, a shadowy threat started to emerge. The peace of the past was being subtly disturbed, with anomalies appearing in the timeline. Someone else was meddling in the affairs of this era. A sinister adversary was at play, and Emily knew she had to confront them. Emily and Jonathan followed the clues, trailing anomalies and strange occurrences to their source. They finally traced the disturbances to a group of rogue time travelers. These renegades were using their knowledge of the future to manipulate the past for their own gain, threatening to unravel the fabric of time. Emily's heart pounded with fear and anticipation as they infiltrated the enemy camp. The fortress, hidden behind a veil of high-tech cloaking, buzzed with activity. Armed with nothing but their wits and determination, Emily and Jonathan embarked on their dangerous mission. Inside the fortress, they discovered a horrifying plan. The rogue time travelers intended to drastically alter history to create a future where they ruled unchallenged. The stakes had never been higher, and Emily realized that she was not just protecting her own destiny, but the fate of countless others. The confrontation was inevitable. As Emily revealed herself to the rogue time travelers, the fortress erupted into chaos. She found herself in the eye of the storm, her courage and resolve tested like never before. A battle of wits ensued, with Emily and Jonathan attempting to outsmart their opponents, using their knowledge of the era and their quick thinking to their advantage. But the rogue time travelers were formidable opponents, leveraging advanced technology from the future and their intimate knowledge of the past. Emily found herself fighting not just for her life but for the sanctity of time itself. Despite the overwhelming odds, Emily's spirit remained unbroken. She rallied, drawing strength from her journey, her experiences, and her determination to protect the timeline. She stood her ground, her actions creating ripples that began to undo the damage inflicted by the rogues. The battle reached a thrilling climax as Emily, in a daring move, managed to destabilize the rogues' time travel device, causing a temporal shockwave. The shockwave displaced the rogues, hurling them into a different timeline, while preserving the integrity of the current one. Emily's triumph was no small feat. She had faced her fears, confronted her adversaries, and protected her era from a sinister plot. She had proven her worth as a guardian of time and had once again demonstrated her courage and resilience. As the dust settled, Emily and Jonathan emerged victorious, their mission successful but far from over. They had stopped a major threat, but they knew the future held more challenges. However, the victory also brought new hope, new strength, and a renewed sense of determination. With the adversary faced and defeated, Emily now knew the full extent of her capabilities. She had faced down a formidable enemy and had come out stronger. She was not just a time traveler anymore, she was a guardian, a protector, and a fighter. And she was ready for whatever came next. She knew her journey was far from over. She had faced her adversaries, but she also knew that there would be more challenges, more adversaries, and more battles to fight. But she was ready, armed with the knowledge of her past, the experiences of her present, and the hopes of her future. Emily's quest continued, her spirit indomitable. She was ready to face her destiny, to protect her timeline, and to embark on the next chapter of her incredible journey through time. Chapter 7: The Unforeseen Resolution. Emily stood at the threshold of the resolution of her extraordinary journey. The trials and tribulations had been many, but she remained undeterred, fueled by her conviction and the determination to safeguard the timeline. Just as Emily began to make strides towards finding a way back to her era, a chilling revelation surfaced. The destabilization of the rogue's time travel device had triggered a paradox that threatened to collapse the timeline. The resolution seemed impossible, but Emily knew better than to give up. Every challenge she had faced, every enemy she had confronted had taught her one thing: nothing was impossible. She had the will, the knowledge, and the strength to fight this paradox, to save her timeline, and to return home. Working with Jonathan and their newfound allies from this era, Emily devised a daring plan. She decided to journey into the heart of the paradox itself, aiming to reverse the temporal collapse. It was a move fraught with danger, requiring a sacrifice that Emily had never envisioned. She had to give up her ability to time travel, her only way home. Emily faced her destiny with a brave heart. She knew the cost was great, but the reward was the preservation of her timeline, her history, and the lives of countless others. She bid her farewells, embraced Jonathan, and stepped into the paradox. Inside the paradox, Emily found herself in an eerie, shimmering void. She could see the fragments of time, disjointed and chaotic, spiraling into oblivion. With the knowledge gleaned from her journey, she began the monumental task of restoring order, fusing the fragments back into a cohesive timeline. The process was arduous, testing Emily's strength and resolve, but with every restored fragment, she felt a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose. She had become more than just a traveler. She was now a guardian of time. When the last fragment slid into place, the paradox quaked violently. Emily felt her time-traveling abilities seep out of her, sucked into the void, stabilizing the paradox. It was a painful process, but she bore it with grit, knowing the cost of her sacrifice. With the paradox stabilized, Emily found herself back in the past, her time-traveling abilities gone. She felt a pang of longing for her own era, but it was quickly overshadowed by the relief of seeing the timeline restored. Emily's journey had reached its unforeseen resolution. She had saved her timeline, forged lasting alliances, and made an ultimate sacrifice. Her quest was over, but her adventure was just beginning. Stranded in an era not her own, Emily decided to embrace her new life, ready to face whatever came her way with the same courage and determination she had shown throughout her journey.